chapter 1159 of the One Piece manga dropping, there is far too much to talk about, so how about I skip all the formalities and dive straight into the chapter. But before I do jump into the video, if you guys do enjoy content like this, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe, as I do post content like this regularly, and to be honest, it's a win-win. You guys show me a lot of support and give it back to you in the form of videos. Whether it's One Piece, other anime, or just fiction in general, it do something I'm covering it, so be there when I go there. But I feel like I've rambled on long enough, so I'll jump straight into the video and dive into the mysteries that chapter 1159 of the One Piece manga has unlocked for all of us. Now, before I do begin the video, I just want to say that I won't actually be doing a real chapter review. Like, I'll be doing theories and stuff around the chapter, so don't worry, the chapter is going to be a main focus of this. I just won't be putting panels, and if I do, it will be like tiny, or it will be for like a second or two, because yeah, Shueisha doesn't like me, so I'm gonna tread carefully. Hope you guys can respect that. I know that. I'm pretty sure everybody knows about how stingy that company is in GTA, by the way, because I should have one and watch the video. Anyway, that's the only extra thing I need to say. So why don't we get into all the theories and stuff that I've gotten from this chapter. Now, as Rox's death is about to come up, I can officially say that he is much different from Blackbeard. This chapter cemented it, and even though last chapter did it very, very well, with obviously him fighting Harold, something Blackbeard would just never do, this chapter did seal the deal, and it's clear that Rox's upbringing was that of him being told a lot of things and then him being mad at Emu and directing it at the right person. See, Rox wanted the world, but I think, in my eyes at least, that was disguised in what his clan had been through. And obviously, I'm going to assume that the original Davy D wasn't a good person, and I'm not here to say that Rox was a good person, but at the exact same time, Rox is different from the way Blackbeard was portrayed. You see, Rox did Davy back fights in homage, to like pay homage to his ancestor, and from that to his interactions with people and to how he wants to protect his family, I just don't think that a villain of the magnitude Rox was told to us to be would do that. Rox to me seems like somebody that is, at first, seemed to be the most evil villain aside from Emu, but now we're seeing him in action, he just isn't. And now this then allows us to think that maybe Blackbeard will start using Davy backfires, but I don't know. I feel like Rox is a totally different character when it comes down to what he's trying to achieve than Blackbeard. I know their goals sound similar, but I don't know. I feel like Rox taking over the world, or in quotation marks taking over the world and taking down Emu, is different from Blackbeard doing it. Rox seems to do it from a place of oppression, while Blackbeard does it because he just wants to do it. Blackbeard has never really portrayed the thing of, oh, I want to do it because I'm oppressed, while Rox seemingly does once we find out who his heritage is. Rox and Blackbeard's heritage is something that is going to play a massive key factor in the story moving forward, and yeah, that's the first thing that I did want to cover out of the way. Now, the next thing I do want to talk on is how Garling and Sommers have weird versions of love. Now, we knew Sommers did, but Garling having a whooped version of love, I mean, he is a celestial, so I guess he would, but it's just the fact that he had a kid, not even a kid, 2 kids, twins, with a woman, stabbed her and then said, oh yeah, I'm going to make Shaki my wife, and then talks about her as if she is like fitting. Well, I mean, Shaki's a very, very beautiful and wonderful lady, so I guess so, but not fitting for you, Garling. Like, they're different versions of love. Like, Sommers was like, I want to make her a slave. On the other hand, Garling was more of a thing that's like, she's going to be my wife. 2 separate things being said, and we can obviously tell, in my opinion, who's a little bit more redeemable. Now, I'm not here to say that Garling is redeemable, he's not in the slightest, but at least he has a better version, I guess, of love than Sommers. Sommers just wants her as a slave, and that right there All I know is that if Sanji has to run into him and they even have a single like talk on love, Sanji is going to blow a casket. Like, seriously. And I think that's probably what Gabon did. You see, we all know that Sommers and Gabon most likely fought on God Valley, and this is where I'm then going to talk about the potential matchups and what really happened on God Valley. And I feel like this chapter was enough to give me enough to know what happened there, and to also figure out a few extra things that the community has been wondering about for a very, very long time. Now, I do truly believe that before everybody arrived, I think Dragon hid Shanks and Shamrock in 2 separate boxes, since he probably figured out that the boxes are not big enough. And I'm assuming that in one of the boxes there was a devil fruit and he may have ate it. And as he was trying to use his new devil fruit, since he didn't know what it was, he figures out that it's a wind devil fruit. And so he tries to carry them through the air, all the way to a marine ship or just somewhere far. He drops one of the boxes. Now, how Garling ended up finding Shamrock is probably beyond me, and it'll probably be explained in some way of like him wandering around after being defeated by somebody who I'm going to talk about in a second, and then stumbling across it and then being like, oh, my son is still here. I mean, I guess it was something. But Shanks is gone. And to be honest, you can't even tell them apart because they look the exact same. And there was also another small possibility that Blackbeard gets away through Dragon. Now, me personally, I don't think that's the case. I actually think that it was Rox. Now, Rox and everybody he fights, we're going to get into that in a second, and I do feel like Rox did sacrifice himself on God Valley. Now, how everything went down with all the fight matchups, it was Gabon versus Sommers and Rayleigh versus Garling. Now, I don't believe that Rayleigh versus Garling truly concluded. I don't think that Rayleigh defeated Garling, mainly because I think Garling is trying to be portrayed on a higher level to the point of like Roger and whatnot, but it's more of a thing where it's like, I think it's either Shaki was freed and then came to help, or somebody else got in the way of Garling and then they started to fight him. I don't know, I just don't see their fight properly concluding, while I do believe that Gabon and Sommers fight, that definitely concluded, and I think Gabon may have ripped him a new one. And this is something that we can't deny because Elbaf literally showed us that Gabon versus Sommers will forever be a low div. And it wasn't a thing where it was like Lucci versus Luffy, where when Lucci saw Luffy again, he was like, oh, it's Luffy, and was like, listen, I nearly took him last time, I can take him again even though he's a Yonko. No, Sommers knew his place from the very beginning. He screamed Gabon's name and was in fear of Gabon. So it's very, very clear that Gabon versus Sommers did conclude, but I don't know if Rayleigh and Garling did. And if it did, then that's a good match for them to have, and obviously Rayleigh would have to win that to then claim Shaki, or maybe as they were fighting, Shaki was then retrieved and they just broke off. Now, the main fight that we have to obviously talk about is Roger versus Rox. Now, I do believe that that was the first fight that did happen, and Rox wasn't actually trying to fight Roger. I think it would be similar to Kizaru versus Luffy, but in a different way. For instance, Rox isn't going to be mentally nerfed in that sort of way. Instead, he'll just be trying to push Roger away so he can get to his family. I think this is all a misunderstanding. I think Roger thinks that Rox is going there to take Shaki, while Rox is actually there for his family, as he tells Harold. Now, this is where I believe Garp does come in, and I feel like Rox is going to try and tell Roger, but Roger isn't hearing it because it's Shaki. Now, this is where it then becomes a 1v1v1 because Garp is there for Roger but then sees Rox. Now, this fight is probably going to be extremely messy because I then think that Roger and Garp are like, listen, Rox is the main big bad here, like, let's be for real, since that's who they see him as. So that's when it then turns into a 2v1, and that's why I do think that Gunko does get involved. Now, this chapter was enough to really piece together Junko's timeline and really figure out who she is as a character. Now, Junko's story most likely starts off with her being a kid somewhere. After he leaves, during the time of when Rox goes and meets Emu, and then she is a slave and then is won or even just bought by the Manmeyer family. That is then when she goes to the Holy Land and for some reason, Emu probably takes a keen interest in her. For what reason, we don't know, but we know that Emu did take a liking to Junko. That's why she then takes on as his personal servant, and that is why when Junko was at God Valley, Emu used this as the perfect time to then kill Rocks. That's probably what it was. Now it's pretty clear that the reason Junko covers her mouth has to be something to do with Emu, or probably that she's hiding a nasty scar, or maybe even that she's from another race. It's possible. Could be a race where they're allowed to be controlled by other people, but I just feel like that's Emu's power taking control of Junko. Now, as I've said already, it's clear that Junko is Emu's avatar, as they have no childhood memories, and the only way that you can unlock that is by hearing somebody from their past. Like for instance, when they heard Brook's name, they broke out of it, and then they were able to then react and then run towards him, but then Emu took over, which means that Emu is watching over Junko 24/7, and they have some sort of unbreakable bond, or just some sort of bond between them that Emu can sense if something is wrong. Now, another thing, they haven't aged a day. That means that whatever sort of thing they've gotten is definitely on the level the Gorosei or even above. Not to say that they're stronger, it's just to say that, well, Emu has some sort of special connection with them, as I feel like that is being portrayed. Now, another thing that I do want to say is that God Valley is going to be an insight into what we are going to see on Elbaf once the flashback is done. I feel like that's what Oda is trying to lead up to. It's going to lead up to Emu taking over Junko, and then Junko showcasing Emu's power, and it's like everybody there is like, oh, okay. And it's very clear that even though Gaban didn't see Junko, at the bare minimum, he did feel their haki, which does let us know that Junkmu was definitely at God Valley. And that's where I do believe that God Valley just basically just went up in flames, because Junkmu literally either turned everybody into their puppet, or they just blew up the entire island somehow. That is probably how God Valley went. And this is where they used their power to obviously kill Rocks and then obviously destroy God Valley afterwards. Now, another thing that I do want to say is that Garling did not scar Whitebeard on God Valley. After further inspection, it's clear that his scar happens after Roger's death, but I do believe that they could have fought. Now, the reason we do believe that they fought is because Whitebeard did say that somebody that looks like Shanks did scar him. So it's either Garling or Shamrock. Now, I do believe that this is later on when he is trying to defend Blackbeard from a possible assassination. Now, as we've seen in the story so far, Luffy has tried to be assassinated a few times already. On Wano, on Egghead, and now you could even say on Elbaf. 3 arcs in a row where he has nearly been assassinated. Now, even though Whitebeard is a Yonko, I truly do not believe that the world government care, especially the top world government members. They don't care. They're still gonna go do it, because they still even try to do it to Luffy. So what I believe is that Shamrock or Garling, or possibly even both, went to go and get rid of Blackbeard because Emu said so. I mean, both of them were on God Valley, so they know what a Davy D can do. So they went there, and then Whitebeard was there, fought them off, but in return caught that nasty scar. And maybe it happened a few more times, and that is where he got the other scars. That's the only other place I can think that he could get it, because he says scars, plural. It means that somebody who looks like Shanks scarred him multiple times. And another theory that I have been able to crack down on is Emu and Mihawk's connection. And the first thing that everybody says is that Mihawk and Emu share the exact same eyes, which is the case. Now, the reason I do believe they are connected, but not the way that a lot of people do think they're connected, is because of their connection to vampires, Dracula and Nerona. Both names are extremely close to vampires, and the way Mihawk speaks is as if he was a celestial. Rabbits, insects, I mean, that's just how they talk about people. But the thing is that I do believe that Mihawk is more of a descendant, whilst Emu is full-blooded. How I got to this? Well, I do believe that the vampire liner side of One Piece had probably died out as the years went on. But Mihawk and whoever his family were had trace amounts of the blood in there, and kind of like Saiyans, he kept some of the traits. It's like Goku Jr., who was like barely a Saiyan, but somehow was able to go Super Saiyan while Pan couldn't. I do believe that it was something like that, where Mihawk, maybe his parents didn't inherit the eyes and teeth and obviously the slow aging, but I do believe that when Mihawk goes all out, maybe, just maybe, he may grow some fangs, and we may see him develop a few extra weird abilities. And the only thing that does stay out are his eyes, and we did know that he was backstabbed in some way during his life, and that is why he doesn't like the Marines. Which means that either when he was a kid he trusted the Marines, and then obviously they found out about his heritage and Emu didn't want another one of them out there, so he got rid of him, or maybe he just doesn't like the Marines because Emu sent them out there even without him knowing anything, and then they tried to kill him. It could be either one of the two, and either way, Emu tried to get rid of Mihawk. I don't think Mihawk and Emu are going to team up in any sort of way. I just don't see it. I think that Mihawk definitely does talk, doesn't act, but does definitely talk like a Celestial, but his family line left and went on their own path. And it's clear that Emu probably just doesn't want any other vampires or just people of their kind around. I mean, Emu is the only Nerona we've seen, and unless they're hiding in the shadows, which I think is probably the case, is if there's any Neronas around, they're probably going to be full blood. So, I mean, vampires can't go out in the day, and that is also why Emu doesn't ever go out. Emu is shackled and bounded to their house because they are a vampire, in my opinion. With Emu being a vampire, I do believe that it does enhance their devil fruit, and that is why we never see them out, and that is why she needs Junko to be her avatar. If Junko then severs the bond, then Emu is just stuck inside until somebody brings them another suitable host. And it possibly could be a thing where vampires are able to pass down their ever-slowing aging process. I think that's probably where it could come from. Maybe Emu bites you and then you gain some sort of ability to then stay alive way longer. That could be the case. I mean, vampires do age slowly, and Mihawk is somebody that, although he's been aging, he is part vampire, so obviously he won't get the full effects, but he does look very youthful for somebody who is meant to be in their 40s. But then again, Katakuri is like 56, so I mean, that is probably another thing as well to obviously mention. Now, one of the last things that I do want to talk about in this video is what probably happened to Harold and everything with Loki. I truly do believe that it wasn't Loki who killed Harold. I don't think he has a reason. He may hate him and may think that he did it, but when he then sees everything, I feel like he will then find out that maybe it could have been Emu that did it, and he was locked up. Now it's clear he didn't even recognize Junko. He only recognized Shamrock because he looked like Shanks. So it seems to be either Junko, when she cut her hair, becomes very, very unrecognizable, which I don't think you can be unrecognizable. She is heterochromia. From what I can tell, she is one of the only few characters inside the entire story to have heterochromia, and she wraps her mouth up. That should be a very telling sign of who Junko is. So Junko may not have been an Elbaf, but who would have then killed Harold? We don't know. It's very telling. By the end of this flashback, once we move past God Valley, it's then going to show us Harold and everything, and I feel like it's going to be very quick. I think it's only going to be like 3 other chapters past this point. It's then going to show us what happened with Loki, Shanks, and Gaban, and then possibly even show us what happened when Shanks then took down Loki to then imprison him, and then it'll come back to present day, and yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. Also, I don't think Loki is telling everybody about Shaki. Maybe he found out what happened on God Valley, is now telling them, but I don't think that he's actually telling them, because a lot of the flashbacks we do see certain things happen that the characters don't know about, but it's just Oda showing us what happened in the flashback, if that makes sense. So we don't know the characters don't know everything, but we know everything, and they still have to figure out what happened. Now, if they get a heads up into who Emu is, and I think that it's Gaban. adding in the extra bits. I think where he's obviously Loki's talking about things, it's Gaban adding in extra parts where he's like, oh no, but this happened at God Valley. Okay, Loki, you know this, but this is what actually happened on God Valley. Everybody came here, blah blah, dragon this, that, and the third. And they're piecing parts of the story together because Loki does know a lot, but Gaban also does know a lot. In fact, Gaban knows the perfect things that Loki doesn't know, so he can then fill it in. That's what I truly do think is going on. I think they may know about Shaki through Gaban. Oh, and another thing, it's also very clear that Sengoku didn't know anything that happened on God Valley. The way he described it was very, very different. Now, it's either he was trying to lie and keep what actually happened there under wraps, or he genuinely had no clue, because what he said is way different from what we now know. The very last thing that I do want to say is that even though Emu did say that they did have no tabs on Elbaf, it is very clear that they had 0 tabs on Elbaf. And the reason I can say this is because they didn't know that Gaban was there. I mean, Sommers was very confused on why he was there. I'm pretty sure that if they knew stuff about Elbaf, then obviously he wouldn't have been so surprised that he saw Gaban there. But yeah, no, it's clear from this interaction as well that they had no tabs on Elbaf. Oh, and the very, very last thing I do want to add, even though it was established in pre-time skip, this flashback has really showed us that no matter what, if you think somebody is from a different clan, but their surname says one thing, don't listen to the surname. Listen to your gut, because you never know what clan somebody could be from. That is what this chapter has really said to me, in my opinion, though. Yeah, with that being said, that is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, as I did enjoy making this video. And yeah, as I did promise, JoJo videos will be on the way. Absolute Batman read-throughs will be on the channel soon. And yeah, we're only getting started. But yeah, I think I will do this for the chapter next week as well. So yeah, that is all from me today, guys. I love you all. Thank you for the support. And I shall see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.